Alternative programs to incarceration in North Carolina. Pretrial services in Franklin County. Franklin County pretrial services have become an integral part of the justice system. This is because the right to due process is fundamental to a dedication to freedom and justice. All United States citizens are guaranteed the right to due process by the Constitution. Given their inability to provide a financial bond, low-income plaintiffs are frequently incarcerated before trial. Nevertheless, one of the most accurate indicators of a case's ultimate result is if the accused was imprisoned prior to trial. Confinement boosts the possibility that the defendant will enter a guilty verdict, the duration of the defendant's sentence, and the intensity of the charge against the defendant. The presumption of innocence, unless proven guilty, and the right to a timely trial support the criminal justice system. Conversely, many defendants are imprisoned in jail before trial, despite being deemed innocent, due to their inability to post bond. Therefore, its description pertains to promoting justice, preventing imprisonment, and prioritizing diversion to alternative programs over jail bonds. This is evident in inflated prison populations and the associated expenditures. Therefore, the goal and purpose of the service is to cover health care, food, and other expenses of incarceration that might have been avoided by pretrial detention. Restorative justice in Vance County. Vance County advocates are progressively looking to restorative justice as a potential method for addressing the need to minimize dependency on prisons. Restorative justice description includes a method of discipline that attempts to mend the damage by allowing those hurt and those responsible for the injustice to address their requirements in the wake of a crime. It represents a more relational philosophy of justice since it prioritizes restoring respect, fairness, and decency to relationships harmed by injustice. On the same note, instead of abdicating all responsibility to the state or legal specialists, it tries to involve the direct parties in addressing the injury. Restorative justice's purpose is to reduce recidivism among criminals. Nonetheless, its purpose is to give victims, offenders, and communities impacted by a crime a chance to speak about the incident and address their associated needs. In addition, it is founded on the belief that crime is a transgression of people and relationships, as well as the values of respect, compassion, and inclusiveness. According to several studies, criminals who participated in restorative justice committed much fewer crimes in the years that followed than those who were incarcerated. Furthermore, restorative justice assists criminals in reforming their evil deeds, hence, it is an ideal measure than incarceration. Home confinement in Warren County. In the county, home confinement is a safe and effective alternative for offenders to serve out their sentences outside of a hazardous prison environment. In these instances, its description includes convicts, not simply returning to society. They are instead restricted by a variety of limitations, including the need to don electronic ankle monitors, restrictions on when they may leave their residences, and frequent drug tests. These constraints are equal to those imposed on prisoners, but they enable individuals to live in a secure and healthier environment, keep working, and be prepared to reintegrate into society upon completion of their terms. Home confinement's purpose includes confining petty criminals, mostly the elderly and the sick. Since a disproportionate majority of prisoners are minorities or persons with low means who cannot manage to pay bail and be freed while their court prosecutions are ongoing, the injustice of the existing system is evident. As a result, it permitted the use of home confinement for federal inmates who were in danger of contracting a severe disease owing to the development of COVID-19 in prisons. Similarly, the offender is restricted to the house most of the time while in home confinement with certain exclusions for school, job, religious services, medical or drug treatment, or grocery shopping. Home confinement is a feasible program as compared to jailing since it aids the majority of vulnerable inmates, including the elderly and those with serious health difficulties. This approach has been extremely effective, helping several inmates to reintegrate into society while remaining safe as opposed to incarcerating them. Mental health courts in Granville County. In Granville County, mental health courts, MHC, were formed to handle the rising prevalence of individuals with mental illness in the U.S. criminal justice system. Their description pertains to courts generally post-booking detour initiatives in which offenders commit willingly to a judicial intervention of community-based mental health treatment, typically in return for a lowered or dismissed charge. Vance County MHC's goal is to help lessen the high recidivism rates of this demographic. As a result, the courts will give a range of help to these offenders in an attempt to modify their conduct. Further, the purpose of mental health courts is to give perpetrators resources and services, including housing and therapy, to lessen their probability of recidivism. Given the fact that mental health court is targeted to the requirements of offenders, individuals will receive substantially more assistance and treatment while in the initiative than they would while jailed. If a criminal gets therapy and care, they are less likely to revert to a life of crime. Therefore, MHC is ideal as compared to imprisonment. Probation in Vance County. In North Carolina, a fraction of offenders might probably be redirected to community-based monitoring without posing an unacceptable danger to the public. This is known as probation. This does not absolutely imply that non-custodial monitoring results in lower recidivism rates than incarceration, but it does show that some criminals may be safely diverted from incarceration. This involves expanding the notion and diversity of probation monitoring to include many distinct activities that may be allocated to certain offenders. The program notifies individuals of the various definitive probation structures. Therefore, their efficiency with specific kinds of criminals for them to gain faith in probation initiatives and obtain the necessary responses to make educated choices about which violators should be convicted to particular probation frameworks. The purpose of probation is to dissuade future criminal conduct by offering offenders with chances for redemption. Probation is cost-effective as compared to imprisonment measures since it permits offenders to stay in the community and support their families financially. In Vance County, there is proof that probation, as contrasted to imprisonment, lowers recidivism.